we do have to talk about selling Bitcoin. And please, at this point, don't freak out. And for any of you Bitcoin maxis out there, this video is for educational purposes, for people who are not yet that far down the rabbit hole and who want to find out how Bitcoin selling actually works. Before we get to the how selling works with the different solutions, there are a few things we have to consider as to when is actually the ideal time to sell Bitcoin. And the simple answer is nobody knows, because this heavily depends on your personal settings, surroundings, and the situation you're currently in. Usually, there are 4 situations when people decide to sell Bitcoin. Number 1 is that they've reached their personal investment goal with Bitcoin. Yes, it's the ideal store of value in the last 10 years. The performance is a strong indicator for that. But some people just use Bitcoin as exactly that. I'll store it for 10 years in there, and if I reach price X, Y, and Z, I will actually also gladly take it upon myself to then sell it. So you never know, if you reach that goal, might be the right time for you to consider that. Reason number 2 is a liquidity issue. Maybe something happened, an accident, your washing machine broke, your house burned down and you were not insured. Whatever it is, at this point, please make sure that you're always safe. You may need some liquidity, and because you have Bitcoin, there is the availability to that. Second is the market situation. Maybe it's an incredible bull run you're currently in and you just see or don't see the benefit at this point of having Bitcoin anymore, and you want to sell portions of it or you want to get rid of it completely. That can also have a factor in selling. And something we see regularly with especially older audiences, the boomers, and maybe even the older millennials, you simply have had enough and you want to diversify your Bitcoin holdings. Could be into a Bitcoin treasury company, maybe into something else, but these can also be reasons why people sell. But speaking of selling, there are 4 major ways of how you can actually do this. The simplest way, at least I think so, is by asking around in the Bitcoin community. Because Bitcoin is peer-to-peer money, there is always the availability, of course, to find another partner to sell to. This is mostly speaking also the simplest way in terms of costs. You meet, you arrange, from Bob in my example, sending to Alice 1 Bitcoin. We'll do a dramatic example here now. And they agree on the price X, maybe a little bit of a spread in there, 2% more expensive, 1% more expensive, and they go their happy ways. Simple if you know a partner. If you don't, and you're maybe in a rush because, as I mentioned, you have liquidity issues or something happened, you are most likely to use a third party. And this is where you have to be careful. There are 3 major differences. Major difference number 1 is a crypto exchange. These exchanges often come with hidden fees, but they simplify the whole process. The way it works is you usually send your Bitcoin there with a transaction. And in every of these cases, you always have to pay the transaction fee in the network. So please make sure to actually check the fees before sending if it's not highly urgent. And once you actually have the money deposit on that exchange, you will have some hidden fees, as I call them. They often have an exchange fee going if you actually send Bitcoin and you change it to Swiss francs or euros, you pay a little conversion fee. Once that money is then in that preferred currency of choice, you often also pay a payout transaction fee to your bank account. These fees vary anywhere between 0.1% and up to 0.6%. It really depends on the actual exchange you're using. So always be aware if you go down that route. And if you lap them up, you actually get to quite a sum of exchange trades and fees in return. Sometimes your bank even charges you something. So there as well, be careful to check these fees in advance. The other version is that you use a Bitcoin ATM, which do exist still. They're a bit sort of washing out because they're not as popular as in the beginning of Bitcoin. But on there, it's basically you go there, you send the Bitcoin transaction, again, paying the network fee, and then you get mostly in cash that money out. Not ideal if you want to sell large sums of Bitcoin. And I also have to mention at this point, yes, they do have transaction fees, but they also have incredibly high spreads. I've recently seen one in my vacation in Croatia where they paid a spread of up to 10%. So ideally, if you want to sell, you get 10% less out of your Bitcoin holdings. And that's not really something a lot of people want to do. The last solution is arguably, in my opinion, and I might be biased, the most simple one. And that's actually using a specified expert for Bitcoin, such as we are with Relai. Yes, once you've downloaded the app and you registered, if you haven't done so already, you have the option to also sell Bitcoin in the Relai app. All you need to do there is open the menu. All of our fees are transparent and visible for you at this point. You send the Bitcoin to the address, you tell us your banking IBAN, and from there on out, your payment will be executed. Again, I know a hot topic, maxis, please don't become keyboard warriors at this point, but nevertheless, selling Bitcoin in most cases is a pretty straightforward process, and you can actually also do it. But what do you think? Have you ever considered selling Bitcoin? Do you want to tell me that I'm completely dumb? Leave me a comment below. I'm generously curious, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.